I'm on the select board for those of you who may be new to town or what have you. Roger McDonald, the town administrator, is here. We have Chief Tryon from the fire department, Frank Abbott, a fellow select board member. I think Roger Tryon on the finance committee is back there. Who did I miss? Doesn't look we have the look like the other finance committee members are here. Is that me?
Sure, yeah, get your speakers turned off.
There we go.
Yep.
Sorry, just making sure we don't have a lot of background noise. So, my goal today, you know, a lot of questions have come in. They come to me. They come to other select board members. I think I'm gonna cover most of them. If you have a question and you're not seeing the answer to it yet, like give me a chance. I'm probably gonna get there. If you have a question on the stuff that is on that slide or really close to it, I might say, oh, that's coming, and I might, but I don't want to. I know how hard it is to hold a question to the end. I personally lose it by that time. So, all right. That one. Oh, and if the backgrounds look familiar from last year, it's because I lost my graphic designer to a real job that she has now. So I basically reused the background, just put in new content. So this should look familiar. Those are, in fact, continuing to be the goals to ensure 24/7 emergency fire and medical, to try to give us better response and better quality of response, meaning enough responders to actually deal with whatever is happening. We're trying to control costs, which obviously feels painful, and to work with neighboring towns. And I'm going to talk about all of that. This is the year in review. So this is for the calendar year 2025 because the fiscal year isn't finished yet. Monterey only calls 165 with mutual aid, and mutual aid is when there's a working incident, right? So that means there's a fire somewhere, like the fire in Egremont a couple Wednesdays ago, which was a house fire, or an MVA, and motor vehicle accident. Sorry. So for Monterey, we get a lot of questions about, well, couldn't we just cut out some part of the day? So about 101 events during the day, meaning 5:30 to 5:30, and 64. So about 40% of events occur at night. And we're still split. We're usually we have been historically pretty close to 50-50 EMS and fire.
I'm sorry, can I put on that slide? Just because those numbers differ a little bit than what's on the website, can you explain the difference between mutual aid calls and mutual aid calls that are 911 dispatch?
Actually, the mutual aid calls went up because Chief Tryon counted again. So he actually found some calls that he felt that he knew were mutual aid that hadn't been previously. Again, is what's on the website.
It says 27, but it says in parentheses this is 911 dispatch mutual aid calls.
Meaning I had gotten that, but when he counted them again,
so they're all mutual aid.
They're all right.
Every call is dispatched by 911.
Yes.
So that's just sort of okay.
The reason is to make it distinguished from the calls we were doing that were auto aid. So this is mutual aid, that's auto aid. So I'm getting to the auto aid, but good question. That is different. Thank you for pointing it out. Different by 5. Okay, so just the highlights of what those calls were: chimney fire, oven fires, a vehicle fire, an illegal brush fire, some animal rescues. People may have heard of some of these. They were kind of a big deal. 2 people fell through the ice on an ATV. A water rescue that unfortunately had a rather bad outcome. And one thing I really do want to point out is that 11 MVS, motor vehicle accidents, that's just in Monterey, right? It was actually 24 with mutual aid. So remember at that last town meeting when we asked to change the speed limit signs in town? That 11 MVAs is part of what was driving that. That we're like, I don't know why, but that's a lot. And we're hoping that slowing people down the roads is going to improve that and have fewer. Yeah, I know, but that it's a little scary. We had a big meeting with Otis that got canceled because there were 2 semi-trailers that crashed in the ice storm a while back on Route 8. Right? Like, whatever. Anyway, So this is a breakout of which towns made up those 32 calls. And I should just revisit, when there's a fire, there are a lot of towns being asked to help, because it takes a lot of firefighters and a lot of fire trucks to work an active incident. How many towns trucks were here for our fire a few Wednesdays ago?
Egremont, Great Barrington, New Marlboro, Otis, Darringham, and Lee. Whatever that adds up.
I think that was 5.
Including yourself. Including.
Yeah. Oh, I'll 6 with us, I guess. So, and then I know last year Mickey asked, well, what are they going to do when they're sitting around in the firehouse all day long? This is not a complete list, but it's a partial list. I'm not going to read down the list, but this slideshow will be posted on the website if you want to go back to reference it or share it with others. I'm trying to think if there's anything in there. I think the incident management system is worth mentioning because it's kind of a big deal. So in October, they brought a new federal incident management system online, but to say that it wasn't even really ready for beta testing kind of undersells it. So some towns haven't yet started the conversion. We started in October. Pretty much all the towns that are converting over to it are really struggling because it has a lot of holes. The hope is that when those problems get fixed, it will be really good, but it's not there yet. So it does make some of the data handling awkward. Like we could get access really well to the first 9 months of data, but the last 3, because October through December, were awkward because they were in the new system that is a little clunky still. We have a lot of hope for it. It should be good, but it isn't there yet. So staffing at the firehouse. Currently, for FY26, we've got 3 full-time firefighters, 12 call firefighters, and 9 per diem firefighters. That doesn't actually cover, call firefighters, just for clarity. We used to call them volunteers, but volunteers generally are volunteers and don't get paid. So technically, I guess I'm a call selected person. I just get called every other day. Well, call firefighters get paid, but most people when they hear the word volunteer think that means unpaid. No. Well, I can tell you that I've had people tell me that I'm not a volunteer on this line. Because I'm an elected official that gets paid $5,000 a year. That may be, but I'm just saying, I think it's an important distinction that the people on the firefighters.
They're paid first responders.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what they are.
That's right. So, but we call them call firefighters because they come when they're called, theoretically. But anyway, so, and as opposed to a per diem firefighter who's agreed to cover a particular shift and is paid for that shift. Since January 1st, there were 9 added, 1 full-time firefighter, 1 call firefighter, and 7 per diem firefighters. That's 9. A full-time firefighter, a call firefighter. We're not there yet, but we're moving, but we're not there yet. So we did get a question sent in asking how many meetings we've been to. I suspect that's not actually accurate for me, but it was the ones that I knew that there were multiple towns at. So the big thing that I wanted to talk about here is that we ran a proof of concept trial with Otis Rescue. So the fire chief, in conversations with, at the time, Otis was still an independent company, Otis Rescue. They were not under town. They did not come under the town till January 1st. At the time, the head of Otis Rescue and the chief talked about the possibility of doing auto aid so that both towns would respond to both towns' calls, because most of the ambulance folks in Otis are actually cross-trained, so they're firefighter EMTs. So fire chief ran some numbers and came to the town administrator and said, I think I can do this under our current budget. Because really what it's gonna cost us is the cost of fuel back and forth. A little wear and tear on the trucks, but you know, we have a truck that's what, 20 years old and has like 5,000 miles on it. It's wear and tear on the truck is a minor thing in vehicles that don't get used a lot. So this was we kept good records on our side. We deployed there 102 times, 69 for EMS and 33 for fire. If you add that into the number I had before, that 34% means this was 34% overall if you add Monterey and mutual aid and the Otis calls. And estimated cost of the fuel for all
shows
what it cost us to see if this would work. Unfortunately, the ambulance company really only kept records of when they had patient contact. So the times they came here to do support, like the time they came during the winter where there was a bunch of smoke at a property up Chestnut Hill Road. And if you know what Chestnut Hill Road is like, you know I'm going, and they didn't think that the guys didn't think they could get the trucks up that driveway. And our firefighters and their firefighter deployed up to that residence, up the snowy, intractable road in Otis's four-wheel drive ambulance. You know, it was Otis that was covering our house a couple Wednesdays ago when we had the big fire. And it's a good thing they were, because after that fire was put out, we then deployed to Egremont to deal with their house fire. And while we were gone, a lithium-ion battery ignited and reignited the fire.
I think that the townspeople have a right to say whether they want to stick with Southern Berkshire or Otis. Otis can't even supply enough people to cover their calls, and we're asking them to come here and help us with our medical. And it's also well noted that Southern Berkshire Ambulance has a higher quality of personnel on that.
They have paramedics.
So we have to address to the townspeople whether or not we want to kick out Southern Berkshire Ambulance and take over to the ambulance service in Otis when they can't even supply their calls. We have to go do the.
No one's kicking them out. So I'm going to talk about some of that in a couple of slides, I think.
I'm sorry.
Go
Just
ahead.
to get back on the calls, just because I'm
Yep.
starting to be confused.
Go.
Monterey calls was 165, mutual aid calls is 27, but we deployed to Otis
32.
102.
32.
Okay, 32.
Right.
But we deployed to Otis 102, so I'm confused about the total number of calls, how many went to Otis, how many to Monterey, because the numbers aren't
Okay, so,
matching.
right, because this is on top of the other one.
This is on top of these.
Yes,
So you
Those are just Monterey calls.
that's Monterey
No,
plus
and
mutual aid.
calls.
No,
Mutual
that's
aid.
why I was making the distinction before. Right, remember I said mutual aid as opposed to auto aid? So this is what we were calling auto aid, and there was a lot of confusion around it, and I'm trying to clarify, but apparently I'm failing. So think of it
Mutual
as,
aid, mutual aid is mutual aid.
right,
I understand that, so Otis technically shouldn't be calling us for mutual aid if we're going automatically.
It's not mutual. It's a.
these aren't, right,
It's not.
this was a different agreement. We were answering Otis's tones
Right.
without being
Right.
asked to go for mutual aid.
Right, but on the mutual aid, there were 3 calls to Otis.
Yes, which were actual mutual aid calls.
Right.
Because
but
that
for
was-
automatic- It doesn't matter, the numbers, we
The-
had 192 calls, but then 102 times going to Otis, does that mean only 70 were, I'm just confused.
No, these are in it,
So
that was
can we
100,
get- can we get
102.
total number of calls?
It would be 102 plus 197.
102 out of the 197 went to Otis.
No, 197. So we have 165 in Monterey. We have 165. Can you let me finish? Because I think I know the numbers better than you, Miss No. We have 165 in Monterey. We have 32 mutual aid, and we have 102 what I'm calling auto aid.
So that should all be in one schedule to show the true percent of what falls over there.
That percentage.
I can't tell from that. I need all the numbers.
All right. So, but they're not okay, except the people asked for separate statistics, so I gave separate statistics. Now I'm happy to make you a single statistic on that if you want. So that it says Monterey breakdown there because those are just the Monterey calls. They don't even include, when I say Monterey breakdown, this is the calls in Monterey, not the mutual aid calls.
So where is the others?
The Otis calls are calculated separately. I'm happy to do that for you if you want. I'm not gonna do it right now because I don't have a calculator.
So you would take 197 and add 102, and that's the total amount of times that the fire department went down.
And what was the breakdown between EMS and fire, daytime and night?
Those are just the Monterey calls.
These are
So of
just
the
Monterey
100 of the 197 calls within Monterey, 101 or 61% were daytime calls. 39% or 64 were nighttime calls.
What's the percent?
Is there a percentage breakdown in Otis calls?
There is, but we'd have to, so what do you want to know? EMS and fire?
For
I won't know daytime and night. That depends on what the purpose of the statistic is.
No, you can make statistics to prove anything.
I'm not trying, no, I was not trying to prove anything. I was trying to answer the questions that were asked of me. And I broke it
That's what
out.
you were making.
I am, but this, the majority, to justify that. Well, the reason to justify that was people wanted to know what we were doing. And I was explaining what we were doing. Sorry, I gotta find where we were. What we were doing was trying to determine, for what I think is a pretty low cost of $1,000, whether or not we could actually work with Otis in some substantive way. That's what the effort was.
It's not just the cost of fuel, what's the cost of the deployment?
I don't know, what is the cost of deployment? We're already paying for the personnel.
Not to go to Otis, right?
These were only the firefighters that were paid firefighters in the house.
That's what she said.
If we're already paying for someone, does it cost you to send them somewhere if they're already on the payroll?
Yes, because if
how?
they get sick or if they get hurt, it's gonna cost you more. If they stay put, they're not gonna, there's less range. Plus your truck is staying still and you have less wear and tear. You have less maintenance on the truck and we don't have to buy a new truck all the time because they're putting miles on it going into Otis. And then they said, well, you can't have every so many miles, we need a new truck.
How old is the truck with 5,800 miles on it?
That is 23 years old right now.
Typically, fire trucks age out because of the number of years, long before they age out because of the number of miles. But I see your point. It would be worth working up more precise figures on all of that. I agree, but I don't think we're paying more for staff if the staff is already being paid.
But the staff is being paid. And then Otis is not paying us for our people that we're paying.
And we're not paying Otis for their people either. They have paid staff also.
And how many times have they come to Montana?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number and I wish I did.
Well, that's the
Right,
problem.
I would agree with you. I'm not happy about it either.
We're paying people more money in Great Barrington to go and serve, don't, Susan, it's on public website.
I'm willing to
We're
believe
paying
you, but I'm
our
surprised.
people full-time to go and service Otis.
We're also paying them full-time to service here and they never missed a single call. Well, it was an issue.
Sean mentioned that the truck is 23 years old. And every other fire company, Otis, Sandusfield, New Marlboro, they have trucks that are not new all the time. And so are we saying that because we're willing to fund increased capital investment, other towns don't have to? Or should we take turns buying a new truck?
Do we have an ambulance?
You know, are you trying to answer my question? Don't answer a question with a question.
I have
I'm
no-
saying this is a fundamental issue. That why does
I think on a capital investment, each town looks at their own town. We're not buying specific,
Subsidizing.
and we aren't, and we aren't.
Not
We are all trying to figure out within our own communities how to support and how to take care of public safety. And unfortunately, the other towns are finding the same stuff. They're realizing the same thing. And we have to figure out how to
expansion.
share these capital, they're gonna have to go buy a fire truck too. And someday their fire truck is gonna come to our community too. They're not just, I mean, Sandusville had to buy a new truck because the truck broke. They're buying a new truck, which is for them. But at the same time, through mutual aid and through other agreements, we have to figure out how to support each other. Because two people leaving Monterey from the station, going to a fire or any kind of thing it's not enough people to do that. You need more people. And we're trying to figure out how, without regionalizing, and that nasty regionalizing word, how we can take care of that with all the different departments.
Not positions.
So did we need those extra people all of a sudden because we had 30 calls? Are we having a bigger personnel budget because we're taking calls from the tech? Yes.
That, no. What we did do was we went to a 24/7 service, right? So we have people in the house all the time. Correct me if I miss any points here, but previously, in previous years, we had the hardest time getting volunteers to come to calls, particularly on Saturdays, but both weekend days. It just was very hard to get any volunteers to show up to calls. I'm calling them volunteers again, sorry, but the call firefighters. So part of last year's decision was since we would only have one person in the house that was a paid full-time person, and we knew that there were those holes where we couldn't get people to show up to calls. We would get per diems that I think most of them are firefighter EMTs that would be paid to be in the house to make sure we could at least send 2 people, because weekends tend to be busier times. The thing is, there are not 9 of them in the house at once, right? That's a roster from which we draw the people that are in the house, because there's a shortage of firefighters, right? And most of the call firefighters are full-time somewhere, so they're doing this as extra hours. The advantage to us is we get to try out firefighters, but also we pay them at the flat rate and not overtime. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, I'll come back to you, but
I'll give you an example. We were very concerned about getting a 75-foot ladder truck. We were asking why did we need that? And within 2 weeks of getting this truck that cost us a fortune, it was Great Barrington that needed the truck, not us. It was Great Barrington that needed the truck. The point that we are scaling up to a level. You're looking at me like I'm telling you,
No,
we're scaling up to a level between equipment and personnel beyond what Great Barrington is. And just look at their website. Public knowledge, Rogers.
But we only have 3 full-time firefighters. I don't know what this.
One fire chief.
Yeah.
you're misunderstanding. Let Chief try and answer that, because that is not the case. It is public, but the way they put their budget out, you're not seeing the number of people they actually have.
Yeah, but they have 8,000 people and they have 2 fire houses.
But you just said they only had one paid firefighter.
That's what
They do not. Okay. Do you want to answer the question about Barrington?
Yes, I'd like to start with, the whole point of this is being missed. Yes, people are missing the point of this. We don't have enough firefighters showing up daytime calls, weekend calls, so we need to make a change. Our average is 2.48 firefighters daytime, year round. They're not showing up. We have, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but 7 in-town Monterey firefighters that are on call. They're not showing up because they're aging out. They're out at 65. We have one that's within the 65-year-old, within 1 year being 65 years old. We've got 3 more that are within their 3 to 4 years and they're out. So we're trying to start replacing, because there's no kids in the town to replace this 60-year-old firefighters that are leaving. and this is a nationwide problem. Look it up online. Everybody says the identical thing. There is no kids coming in the fire service. So NFPA.com.org, they have an article that speaks to this. In a lot of small departments, under 2,000 residents in the town, are switching to full-time or a hybrid department, full-time / volunteer call paid.
What do you do with
So-
volunteers?
We're rattling bushes out there trying to find people.
Roger's been being really patient. You guys have already asked a bunch of
Back to,
questions.
can I
Go for it. Finish
Wendy's
answer.
question
Yep.
about Great Barrington? Great Barrington has 5 or 6 full-time firefighters. They need 14. They have asked the town for 12 or 14 firefighters this year. Whether they get them or not, we don't know.
No, they're not.
But
But they're also
But it's
having
not-
trouble turning out their own fire.
Just hold it, just please let Chris finish. Hold on. Please let Chris, I'm sorry, Sean. Please.
they are in dire straits like every other town is. They are trying to figure out a solution. Regional has been talked about. The ambulance squad's an issue. Because most places around the country has a fire department, has an ambulance. They can't justify hiring more people till they have an ambulance. So it's this really this is just the dog chasing its tail at the end of the day. There's no young volunteers coming forward. They just don't want to do it for many reasons. From it's not safe to they don't have enough time. They need to work and pay the bills instead of go pick up grandma off the floor and send her to the hospital. So we're in every town, New Marlboro, Otis, Sandusfield, we're all in really big trouble. And the day of fire departments not showing up is very, very real when you call 911.
Roger's been really patient back there.
Chris was over at Slate, getting payers, he got the call, was trying to see. Now, we had firefighters in that same situation, we had firefighters right over. We had them right over. All three in Sheringham, and wouldn't the town of Sheringham, wouldn't the people in Sheringham want to pay Chris for his time out of their pockets, because look at what an asset he was to helping the situation. So this is how, if we go to other towns and we say, listen, our firefighters are really diversely spread. Our fire stations are not in the best locations, but maybe our firemen and our first responders are. And that if we could have an agreement with the towns that this is what these people are gonna get paid, Chris would know that when he helped, that he helped because he wanted help, I'm sure. And then, but he could be paid for with an agreement by the town of Sheringham because he did a good thing for the town of Sheringham.
So just make sure that I'm hearing you correctly. The concept would be to develop some type of, I'll call it a mutual aid agreement because I'm not sure what else to call it, where towns would recognize monetarily that would be able to call on volunteers or paid staff from other towns in return for paying for that service?
Well, we would have to think it through, but I think we have to have some leadership from the top down. We have to have it from the townspeople. We have to have it from the select board and all the other committees down to see how we can partner with other towns. And so listen, we cannot afford all of these number of firefighters, and you guys aren't really stepping up to the plate. And isn't there a way that we can take our personnel and put them and have them respond? Like what I just.
And I think, Roger, I think that's what we were trying to do with Otis is just that. Try to figure out how we can make those kind of responses with the limited number of staff that we have. And that's what we're trying to figure out.
I agree with that to a point, but I also have talked to, the paid first responders in Monterey who don't want to go to. They came to serve Monterey and that's all they have the energy and the time to do. So, this to drag all of these first, paid, first responders to other towns is gonna kill anybody that wants to, because they don't have the time.
So Roger, the Otis runs are not getting paged out as a whole department dispatch. That is the on-call people at the fire station. So we're not, you're right, we don't wanna wear out the people that are home sleeping at 2 AM. You're not wrong. And we have ways to work with that. So, and we're not paying, we haven't seen 12 guys show up to a scene in Monterey in 5 years now. So, the best we're paying right now is about 7 people. I think at Structure Fire down here, we had 6 or 7 show up. So, and that was a really good response from Monterey. We're in really big trouble. And every town around us and every town in the country is in really big trouble. So we're trying to get ahead of and to be able to provide a good service to people. And what you're saying is the regional approach. And we are trying to do that with Otis. We are trying to create a model and people are pushing back. People would support this model. We can start growing it. Maybe New Marlboro will jump on and we can all start working together because Otis is coming here. We work a lot with New Marlboro, but there's pushback from the townspeople, New Marlboro. People just don't want to work together and make this happen. So we're trying to bulldoze our way through and make this regional happen, but we're going to push back harder.
I think you may need some.
I mean, believe me, having been to a lot of these big meetings with lots of other towns, it's been disheartening, right? Like the whole emergency medical situation in South County is very tenuous. It's really a problem. The people in Boston don't really understand what's going on because for them, ambulances are already in firehouses, right? There's no consensus. The options that are on the table for cooperation, nobody seems to want to buy into them because they all have significant downsides. And it was just disheartening. Like some interesting things came out of all those meetings, but at the same time, I did not leave there feeling like there was a clear, good solution to our issue. And let me see if I have it. Oh, and here's why. So this I got in September is a map that was made by Collins Center, who was organizing the Southern Berkshire Emergency Medical Services Partnership meetings. Pardon? Tallinn? Where's Tallinn?
Yeah, that's.
No, she said the Collins
The
Center.
Collins
Collins.
Center. Collins, I'm so sorry. No, I was like, Tallinn, what are you talking about? So these little red dots, that's Southern Berkshire Ambulance. That one there is the Otis Ambulance. New Marlboro is down here somewhere. Sandusfield is down there somewhere. If I put the whole map up here, you wouldn't be able to see what I actually wanted to show you. But if you notice in Monterey, what this is 8-minute drive time for an ambulance. So the standard of care is actually 4 minutes. In urban areas, it's 4-minute drive time, right? So then it goes up in 4-minute increments. Average response time from SBA to Monterey incidents is 15.1 minutes. The mode, which means the most common response time, is 12. Their best time in 2025 was 6. The worst time in the first 7 months was 35 minutes. There's one on the recent quarter that I have to call them about because it was over 2 hours to respond, and I'm hoping that was an error because that's a little scary. And it was a diabetic episode that required ALS support. So I'm hoping that number was an error. Anyway, my point here is, you see this funny yellow line? That little yellow line that outlines the roads? So there's I'm doing my best here. They made it yellow. It's not my fault. These yellow lines that I'm tracing is the 8-minute response time for Southern Berkshire ambulance, right? This is Monterey. The closest one they get is there. This is the 8 minutes response time for the New Marlboro ambulance down here. This is the 8-minute response time for the Sandusfield ambulance. This one here is actually from Otis. And the only one that gets to any part of Monterey in 8 minutes is Otis. Otis is the only ambulance that can reach any part of Monterey in 8 minutes. Sandusfield's down here. See, that's as far as they get. All of this up here, that's from Otis. So part of the reason is they got 23, right? The roads are better. Travel faster on them. So this was really informative to me. Like, we are in this hole. And part of the reason that we're wanting to get EMS capability, even just to have EMTs without an ambulance, would be to be able to deliver emergency care at the EMT level rather than the first responder level, which is, even if you have an EMT, if you're not working with an EMT organization, you can only act at the first responder level. So if we can partner with a town that has EMT certification, we can start pushing the process forward to use our first responders as EMTs if they have that certification, which I think would be a real boon, because we're in the zone, right? And those first 4 minutes are critical. We would have the capacity to deliver emergent care much more quickly to those 90 calls we had last year. We had 91 EMS calls last year in the town of Monterey. It was on that first slide, right? 91 EMS calls. They weren't all transported. I'll show you the slide again if you want, Wendy, but trust me, it's 91. And as of 2 days ago, I got the first quarter numbers from Kevin Wall, who runs Southern Berkshire Ambulance. We were at 28 calls for the first quarter. That would put us over 100 calls for the year 2026. We're getting older, folks. We're having more calls. They're not all transport. Sometimes they come, the person doesn't have to go anywhere. Sometimes the calls get canceled, but that's how many calls there were. Do I need to clarify anything on
Yeah,
that?
just a clarification. I thought, and maybe I misheard, did you say the mode response time for Southern Berkshire was 12 minutes?
Yes.
But 8 minutes only gets them that far?
Yep.
So the remaining 4 minutes are getting all the way, I'm just confused.
My
about
guess
that.
would be they weren't at the house. They may have deployed from somewhere else. It's
The
all I
ambulance,
got.
in other words, was not in the garage at
Yeah,
Fairview.
that's
They were
my
on the
guess,
website.
because I can't figure it out either. But it is a question that I have for them. Do you know the answer to that?
It's a good question.
No, I talked to Kevin about it one time. He said a lot of them were dispatched from other places. Not necessarily. Because of the, I talked to Kevin, who runs the SPA.
Can you hear him now, or does he need to stand up?
I talked to Kevin at SPA, because I did some of the data analysis, and some were short. And I asked him, he said they're often dispatched from out in the, they're not dispatched from the house. So that's why there was a problem.
So, like, if they're dispatched to another call in Monterey, it's going to be a lot faster. I think Mary had a question.
For a long time. We still have a
Oh,
Yeah. On this budget, it has 6 full-time firefighters, is that right?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the budget part, but yeah. I promise you there's numbers coming. Anybody else before we move on to the budget?
Yet another question.
Oh, okay. So we don't have an ambulance, and we can't actually work as EMS, right? But mutual aid, the mutual aid system that was originally established is about mutual aid. That when the call goes out for mutual aid, other towns respond because they know, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next day, but it could be that, right? We called for mutual aid and we went to mutual aid on the same day a couple weeks ago. There's no money exchange. That was part of the original mutual aid agreement that we are actually still have to hold. So part of what Roger Tryon was talking about involved rethinking all those agreements and having to make some type of new agreement to supersede the existing mutual aid agreements.
So there's nowhere in Massachusetts where you get reimbursed for going to another town by the town.
I don't know.
Only if you have an ambulance and you don't get reimbursed by the town, you get reimbursed by insurance. Nope. Not that I'm aware.
Not that I have not received.
Why is that broken out separately?
Because it was a trial program that I wanted to make sure that people got to hear about because there were like rumors about it. And the trial was to see, can we work with them when we have only one person? If they had only one person, could that make two people that would be able to successfully handle the situation without having to call volunteers?
There's nothing to do with the reimbursement. There's no.
No, but there are people who feel that if we go to someone else's call, we should be reimbursed for that. But I will tell you that very topic came up at a conversation we finally got to have the meeting with Otis. So we had the whole select board, the Otis town administrator, Frank and I were there, our fire chiefs were there, their head of the fire chief was also the head of the rescue squad and what is she called? The lead. Brittany. Brittany's her name. I don't know her exact title.
She's the EMS super.
Right. We're all there. And we had this conversation about what can we do to start working together? What kind of arrangement can we make? Every time you try to work out one of these agreements, more than one meeting, trust me. But one of the things came up is like, well, if our ambulance is coming to you, we'll have to think about what we can charge you. And I said, absolutely. And then if our people are coming to you, we'll have to think about what we can charge you, the cost of the labor and the trucks and the wear and tear and the fuel. We weren't, by the way, we weren't paying for supplies because if any of supplies got used on our Otis call, they were replaced by Otis Fire Rescue. But anyway, and like you could see suddenly the select board member from Otis was like, oh, because she was viewing it from, well, if we come to you, we should get paid. But she wasn't thinking, well, if you come to us, we're going to have to pay you. I mean, I don't know. It's complicated math because if we truly start working together, right, more to be stronger with fewer people each, working together so that we have enough people to handle some of these situations because it's not uncommon to need at least 3 or 4 people even, right? If we want to have enough people for that, and now they have 4 full-time firefighters, or EMTs, I was going to get to that, then we have to figure out what's a reasonable way to do it. Are we going to do it on call number? Are we going to, it's a complicated math, and I'm not saying we're not thinking about it. I'm saying it isn't simple, right? It can be, but how? Usually, my experience is simple rules are easy to enforce and don't work very well. And I can talk about that, but a lot of them don't work well because they would try to be simple and easy. You can have it easy and simple, or you can have it accurate and good, and they're not always the same thing. I actually think Kara had a question up.
Is the long-term goal to eliminate Southern Berkshire if Otis can get to the same level of standard care? And to have the monetary value that we're currently putting into Southern Berkshire put back into Monterey as a barter situation with Otis?
I'm not going to say eliminate because I hope that they continue for their own purposes. If you mean that we would maybe not be using them for ambulance services, I think that would be a fairly near-term goal rather than a long-term one. But we would still need access to ALS service unless we move further towards that and have paramedics as well.
Still be paying them the $150,000.
$157,000, and at that point, presumably typically not, we would probably be paying something because we would still need ALS service unless we then transition from an EMT house to a paramedic house.
So there is some sort of monetary benefit to going with Otis on that bartering.
I believe there's a significant monetary benefit. But how much it is exactly, I can't say.
Not related to budget at all.
Okay.
Where does Tyrion fit into this picture? Do they rely on me?
Yes,
Okay, so that's completely.
yes. It's actually a further transit time than you would think to anything but the stuff that's like really up the road there.
Right.
Yeah. So we're already trying to go down this road. We've sent in, we're partway through. How far through the process are we? Oh,
It's a 14 or 15 step process. We're at 12 or 13 right now. It's actually a level 5 ambulance. Level 1, level 2 ambulance would be the ones that's transporting you on a day-to-day basis. The level 5 will get us so we can operate as it is. I forget how many EMTs we actually have, but it would get us so we could actually do EMT level skills on patients. So that would provide a better care to anybody we've responded to.
So I don't think anybody doubts that we need them. These for firefighters and EMTs. The question is how we pay for it and can we afford to expand at this point? And
I agree.
I to throw out one concept in terms of how to pay for it. Probably everybody in this room lives here all year, most of the year. But we probably have a huge portion of our taxpayer base who are second homes vacation from year to year. I lived in Hawaii for 30 years. Starting about 10 years ago, they changed real estate taxes to reflect the fact that most people who own homes in Hawaii almost never go to them. And so they started charging 2 or even 3 times the tax rate for people who were not residents. And that created a whole lot of funds for public works. And I think Monterey should consider doing that.
it came up earlier today at the seasonal community meeting. That's totally fine. No need to be. I like it has come up before, and we may get there. Historically, there's been I think I can say that this community has been reticent. It's been a second home community for a long time. But we may be getting to that place. I don't disagree with you that people know we need it, but at the end of the day, I think Steve Pullen put it best when he said what we're paying for is insurance, right? That we all want the service, and it's a question of how long we're willing to wait for the service and whether the service will get there in time. And I think we have to weigh the beauty of living in a rural place with the risks associated with it. I mean, if you live in Alaska, it helps coming on a plane, right? If you live in Wyoming or Montana in the northern parts, you're 6 or 8 hours from a hospital. So, you know, we're in better shape than that. But the reality is those first few minutes make a big difference.
How do you pay firefighters to those?
Okay, let's go. We're almost there. So I was just gonna, can I just finish up? We are coming to the money part, and I think people are, there we go. All right, so that brings us to your question. Look, you were crushing. So Otis has, so as of the first of the year, the Otis Rescue Squad is now part of the fire department. They have 4 paid EMTs. I know that their chief is an EMT firefighter and the lead EMT is an EMT firefighter. I don't know if the other 2 EMTs are also firefighters or not.
I'm talking about firefighters, so we can compare apples and apples. So how many? We have 3, and they want to hire.
We have 3 and no EMTs that can work as EMTs. They have 4 EMTs.
But how
2
many
of them are
Okay,
firefighters.
so they have 2 paid firefighters.
I'm not sure about the other 2. They're paid as EMTs. They also have to be firefighters.
And this, okay, but are they but they were hired to be an EMT.
Correct.
So at any point, they have 2 firefighters that are paid. And we have or we have 3, and they wanna hire 3 more. So they have,
So,
so they have.
so they're looking to have 2 people on shift 24/7. We're looking to have 2 people on shift 24/7. So, sorry.
You gotta use your site voice.
Then people think. So Otis is shooting for 2 people full-time, 24/7, 2 of them. We are shooting for 2 people, 24/7, 365 also, so it's a 1-for-1. No,
We have 3 total people. That's 1 person on at a time.
so I think that's where people.
1 person in the house.
So you have.
Pardon?
per diem.
Only on weekends.
And so evenings were covered most of the time, not all the time, but most. In the weekends we have people. So, yes, at that point we have 2 to 3 people. Daytime, Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 5:30, it's just one of us there at this station. They're on call, but Otis.
They're not on at the same time.
They each work 48 hours on, 96 hours on.
Wendy, there are, what's the number of hours in a week? 168?
In a week,
Yeah.
68.
100, there's 168 hours a week. How could all 3 people have a life if they were in the fire department for 168 hours every week? They can't, right? We have 3 people so that we can have 1 paid person in the house 24/7. But there's only 1 person at a time because they have to work in shifts, so they don't go over too many hours.
How many of that 3 full-time people are EMTs?
Right now, one.
1.5.
One
Well,
and a
he's
half.
about to be. He just
No,
has to take the last test.
I know that Sean is taking a test for it, and Seamus just finished his. So it's right now it's just one.
So, I'm sorry, just to clarify what I heard from the chief.
Mhm.
Right now,
Uh-oh.
during the 12-hour day, Monday to Friday, we have 1,
Mhm.
but nighttime and weekends, we do have 2 to 3.
Yes.
Okay, so that's different than we only have 1 on per day. We actually, it's just the Monday through Friday day shift, that we have 1. All nights and all weekends are more people in the house.
There's more people though. Yeah. So
Not available, but in the house.
usually in the house. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in the house, because we're paying overnight and we're paying weekend.
I just can't say at any given time there's always say like 2 extra. They try to have like overnights. We're funded to have the 2 overnight people. There aren't always 2 overnight people. They're funded to have 2 per diem people on a shift. There's not always 2 per diem people on. It's just kind of how we funded it and what
But
the
the
what
town is
I
paying for
deal.
that, right? Just the 5 days, the 12-hour shifts that
Yep.
we have 1. Just to
That
clarify.
we're certain we have 1,
Yeah, we're
yes.
certain.
Some days there may, what he's trying to say is that even though we've set up the shifts and we have the money to pay it, we can't always fill the shift.
There have been occasions when there's been nobody extra overnight. On some
Or
days.
we can't get 2 per diems, we can only get 1, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? Okay. So Egremont is up here because, well, since I started on the select board, Egremont was always used as a sort of most similar to Monterey because they have their EQB is really similar. The number of people they have, the number of houses they have, etc., is pretty close to ours. They currently have 3. You can see their salaries up there, and their warrant will ask for a 4th. New Marlboro, this is a little deceptive, and you can fill in anything I got wrong, Maureen, because their fire chief actually is a full-time, the head of the DPW. So this is just the stipend he gets in addition to that for being fire chief, but they have that luxury of having that person who's also the chief of the fire department there during the day, 5 days a week. They have a full-time EMT now, and have you guys made a call as to whether you're gonna put the addition on
It's
the warrant?
on the warrant,
Okay, it's on the warrant.
whether it will be approved or not.
So they're trying to get another EMT or just EMT or EMT
We're
firefighter?
going for an EMT, that's.
Okay.
Media.
And Otis, we just talked about, they have 4 full-time people. They also have per diems, but I didn't have a rate for them, so I didn't put them up. And the only one I know for sure in Sandusfield, because no one would return my calls, was that they have a chief who was paid 52K last year. He came on in August for that 52K and is asking for $120,000 for next year. Did any questions on that so far?
Not on that, but I have a question. How long does it take to get EMS and EMT certification?
For a person or for the house?
Per person.
Well, it's the house also, for them to work as EMTs, the house has to be certified too.
The firehouse. She
The
means the
firehouse.
firehouse when she says.
Right, so it's two different parts. How long does it take?
To become an EMT,
Mhm.
I did 6 months, basically 3 days a week, 6 months nights, so. I don't know the hours off, I don't know, I forget the hours off.
Three full days?
No, just evenings, so 3 hours.
And then
3
occasional
hours,
Sundays.
so 9 hours a week.
And occasional Saturdays too.
Is that something
So
that-
we are leaning to get we're favoring EMTs. Right now, we can't operate as an EMT agency. We're working on getting that certification, which could be another 6 months or a year out. But we are trying to get EMTs on the roster, so when we're certified, we can be EMTs.
So now we have one and a half, one.
Of the full-time people, but we have a lot of per diems that are also EMT. Which was part of why we wanted those people for the weekends, because especially in the summer, not unexpectedly, weekends are very busy. Steve?
If everybody's trying to hire people, where are they coming from? So do we have a training academy? I mean, it sounds like becoming a firefighter is actually a good path,
Yes.
for young people. So how do they do that? How do they get there?
Right now, you're in the right place, the right time. In the future, we need to start doing some job fairs and stuff at schools, and then start getting them to the Mass Fire Academy to get them their certifications, and then however the EMT, we can do it at Southern Berkshire, or there's classes in Springfield, so.
So you're not feeling like there's a problem right now.
There will be.
If everybody hires everything.
It's this transition for the whole area, because most of the area wasn't full time, so. I think as time goes on, kids will start to see this as a positive thing, if they can get paid to do it. I think that'll add some extra hands. So
It's gonna take
that cycle to cycle through.
I don't wanna get too, I was just thinking about EMTs in New York City, the stress of that job, maybe a lot of progression. Is that an issue people have to deal with here? I know I think there's a lot of burnout in some places.
Yes.
What do EMTs have to deal with here? I mean, how likely is it to convince everybody to get trained? You know, it could be a stressful job, or maybe it's not as stressful.
It is definitely a stressful job. We see it all. It's maybe not the quantity that they get in New York City, but we get to see it the worst of the worst here. I've seen some pretty bad stuff. So yes, there's the same problems in New York City. We have the same problems as there is in New York City with burnout.
Young people hard to get EMT training.
Well, that's part of the problem of getting people to sign on to the fire service is really there's too much data out there showing it's bad for you.
Roger?
So one thing that has changed for the fire company in the last 5 or 10 years is that it's almost a mandatory sleepover shift at the stations. That's gonna kill the boarding. I talked to the police chief and I said, how many calls do you get between midnight and 8 AM in the morning? He says you get 1 call a month. So it's obvious that if you're gonna take highly trained people or trained people and you're gonna make them stay in that fire station when they can be there in 5 minutes. Now, the firemen that are there are sleeping, so they have to get up and get dressed. They get, the people who are called from home get the same radio, and transmission as they get. They can be there in 5 minutes. And that quality of time that people have in their lives to spend at home, resting is, substantial. And I think that it's, I think what the fire chief over the years has asked the town to pay to have the police trained, so they will come back and work in the town. They come back here and there just isn't enough to do. And I think I think the boredom situation of a mandatory sleep in at that station is gonna help kill it.
So, can I ask a question, Roger? Who's within 5 minutes of the Monterey Fire Station?
Dude, face down. He face down.
The things that are driving people away from wanting to be, a helpful first responders to town. Okay,
So-
and I was on the fire company when I was 12 years old until I was 20. My dad and I would get called out of bed and we were there in like 5 minutes and the town is small enough where we can go. We would often go cross lots to where we were going. We're a small town. It's safe to drive in your own vehicle. And I just don't understand all of the professionalism that has been set up that is gonna cost us money. And we're looking at, after next year, if we add on 3 more people next year, we're going to add on 3 more. This will be 9 full-time people. And I'm looking at the other towns that are larger than ours, and if they put on equal number of people, I just think I don't understand. I agree with you guys.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to the nighttime first?
So I'm sorry, we're trying to be professional.
That's not nice.
I think when we show up, we're trying to give you a professional service. And I think people expect the professional
And we
service.
afford, so I can't, we afford the very best. I mean,
I don't think we're the very best, Roger.
If I wanted better service, I would rent an apartment, right beside, Fairview Hospital.
You'd still have to call the ambulance to get there. I
So,
also think that
It's
there's.
not
at least one-
mandatory overnight.
No.
It's not mandatory. We have 3 people on the roster that are not doing it now. Morale is super high up there. They're not tired, they're not bored of being there. There's always projects, there's always training. They have a lot of fun. They make it happen. They love serving this town in this area and they want to give you a good product at the end of the day. So.
And also, it might be that Ryan's getting paid once a month, but if 40% of the almost 200 calls we had were at night, I think that's a lot more than one a month. You do the math.
Well, I know, but if you're gonna start, the night shift at 5 p.m., that's really unfair, because a lot of first responders who are home from work are up until 9 or 10 at night, so that's why I say the police chief's calls between midnight and 8 a.m., which is a very difficult time, was one call a month. The fire company wishes to back up to 5:30 p.m., 5:30 a.m., and I think it's not comparing apples to apples.
Right. That's a fair point. Do we want to go on to the rest of the financials? Yeah, sure.
I think that the point that
Yeah.
made I just think, and all of this is so interrelated with all, I mean, as somebody with children in our school system, like, we are just facing a different reality than the reality that most of you face when you moved here. The people who would fill those jobs, and sleep at home can't afford a house here. And if they could afford it, they would probably rather live in Great Barrington where they have a general store that is open. And
Don't say that.
no, just, no,
Let her speak, let her speak.
Like, I don't know if the schools gonna be able to stay open, so I'm just, I feel.
Let's have comments go to the chair, please.
Okay, please.
And so, and I feel as though we're in trouble in a lot of different ways. And, I love this town, and I just think it's not so, everything is incomplete, is supposed to
Can you
say
guys
that.
give her the same consideration everyone gave you?
I'm saying that I agree with what everyone is saying, these are hard choices, and I think that we just need to understand that this is like, if you take money from one thing, there's still other problems, and the problem is there isn't affordable housing here for those.
This morning.
Sorry. Okay, it's, I'm like totally honest, but like frank with you guys, and I feel like you're like laughing and talking over me, so I don't really understand that. I'm trying to express a perspective that is, I just hope that it's not easy to just, this isn't an easy solution, and it's not like our generation is stuck with some serious problems that are overwhelming. That's why I'm feeling emotional right now, and so I just want to call attention to that, and say that I feel like I feel like this is an issue that I support funding, because I see a proactive approach that I appreciate, and a lot of other things feel very overwhelming. And if we could find a way, like you said, to an academy to work together to deal with this population decline that's not ending.
Yeah.
That's
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary?
I just want to say that I totally hear what you're saying. There's many of us here that have been living in Monterey a long time, but we have even chosen not to want to be in Monterey. It's really hard for them to do it, or grandchildren, or whatever. But I think that people that are here that really, all of us are trying to see how we can keep the fire department going the best it can, and have more EMTs, et cetera. We can creatively work with people that are working on the affordable housing issue. That seems like that's going to help, right, Sean? How much
It is.
And her.
Creative, and so maybe there's somebody in this room that knows somebody that could rent out part of the house to a young person who, we just don't know. But we have to, thinking outside the box is going to help us. Thank you.
Just, we'd all like there to be more volunteers. It's not just us, it's everybody. Our average age in Monterey is 65.4, at least it was. It's probably older now, I'm not sure. We may have lost a couple old people, maybe it ticks down a little, I don't know. But can't even be a firefighter at that age, right? So the number of people in between 18 and I'll say 60 available to be firefighters in the town of Monterey is not particularly high. The national average for volunteers for the fire service is, I believe, 1 in 100.
1 in 100.
So, what would that be? Maybe 6 people? It's not a huge number. And once upon a time, we had a lot of young people. So the days when we could turn out 20 people to a fire was because we had a lot of young people, and a lot of young people were living and working close to home and were available. And this is a crisis. I'm extremely aware of it, and it's my tax bill too. We are doing our best to try to work with other towns, but it isn't that easy. And this isn't just the other towns are trying to use us. We have to figure out how we're going to serve our people.
So I'd like to say that I'm really in favor of professional firefighters. My father-in-law died. I'm really cancer. And I've seen firsthand what it's like to be a grandparent of a professional firefighter. Those guys are really amazing. So that being said, I want it to be known that I'm on the side of hiring professionals. I do want to also say that if we're going to offer incentive by paying for firefighters' education, we have to put it in the contract. They must stay 5 years, even next 3 years, because otherwise we're just paying people to go to places. And that's not fair.
The good news is the fire academy is free of cost. The only cost is that you have to get there. right? So that actually attending is at no cost, which is good news. Not everything is like that. EMT school isn't.
The last thing anticipate is that, as much as I'm in favor of professional EMTs, professional firefighters, I'm really, really against taxing out senior citizens to live here, which is just not good.
Can I get to the part with
Can
the
I
money
just
for
tell a
us?
funny
I just,
Yes,
like, I'd
yes.
like to get to the part.
Let's
with
just
the
let
money
Michelle
for
tell her
us.
story.
25 years ago, when I was with grandpa, a select person, we went to an emergency meeting. And we were informed that in event of an emergency, a town of Connecticut would be coming right up Route 8 to shelter in Monterey. And Ray said, well, no, we'll just put the fire trucks across the road. So things have changed. And I would also like to say that in this height perfectionist, and this is no reflection on your commitment and the hard work that all of the people in the fire company doing in the town in general. But we are in an emergency mentality where every emergency has to be met with the full power and force and technology and training. And, you know, maybe our expectations of safety and coverage are too high. And as expenses go, I mean, you're paying more for diesel, I don't need to tell you. But maybe we need to look at ourselves and what our expectations are of the services that are provided, can be provided, should be provided. And yes, I'm lying on the pavement and the highway and I want to be safe. But maybe it's just not my time to be safe. You know, I have been recipient of life saving from the services available. So that was my second story, and I will defer to you to keep this campaign going. But I think it's important to remember that Peter used to jump out of bed in the middle of the night to go fight a fire, and he's over age. He's aged out.
I would really like to get through the rest of this, and can we just hold the questions till the end?
Like you said, and I think it was brought up before, affordable housing means affordable taxes, and we're an aging community, and a lot of us are retired and living on social security and investments. And just like you, I mean, I could choose to live in any town. I chose Monterey. I knew it was rural. I grew up in New York, in a big town in Connecticut. I chose Monterey because of its rural. I knew how far it was. I paid extra on my home insurance because I'm more than 4 miles from the fire department. So I know I paid for that. And so that was my choice. If you don't like living here because you can't, or you can't afford a house and pay back to, I think that's one thing. I can't afford taxes if it keeps going up at the rate they're going up. And I don't think a lot of us here can as well. And that's, I think, what a few of us are saying is that it's not, we understand the risks, but doesn't mean that we have to have, like Michelle said, that we have to have different expectations, because if the taxes go up too much, you're not going to have people to buy our homes, and people, unless they have, you know, cash of $1 million to put down on a house so that they can afford the tax.
The great irony is the aging population requires all the services that we can now not. You're saying we cannot afford to. I know. I'm not disputing it. I agree with you.
It's still pretty close to the lowest rate. I mean, there might be one town below us. Like, for example, I think Richmond is $11 per thousand. So Barrington's over 16. It's just the assessment. So it's
Everybody
not apples to apples.
Just ours.
Yeah, Susan.
Thank you. So
Press the button. You know, there's a senior citizen lower rate if your income's low enough, because cost of living's gone up so much, that amount for the cutoff for senior citizen tax rate should go up.
we do. You have to see the assessors, I think. I'm not sure. That's a good question. We should find out. Do you know the answer? All right, I'm gonna just hold questions, and I'm gonna go through this last part, because then people who have heard it and want to go can go, okay? what's on the warrant for this year is 3 additional firefighter EMTs. You can choose to not vote for that at the town meeting if you wish. I'm gonna say this, and it'll come up in a minute. And so 3 additional firefighters, I just said it, in order to keep the costs down, we would bring them on at 40 hours a week instead of, so firefighters can legally at straight, not without paying overtime, work 2,632 hours in a year, which works out. That's about 544 more hours than regular 40 hours a week. It's a lot of extra hours, right? It's a little more than 50 hours a week on average. We would bring them on at 40 hours a week for the first 9 months. And I don't know if any of them also we may be able to hire people that already have firefighter 1, 2. If not, they'd be going to the academy and then moving up to 24/7 for the last 3 months of the year. That kept our costs down. At the end of that, we would have 2 firefighters, full-time firefighters per shift. We would increase the per diem pool, which means we'd look for more per diem firefighters in order to make sure we can cover remember we said before, not all the shifts are actually covered. It would give us the ability to make sure that the schedule requires that they only have a certain number of hours per month. So there's 1 day a month where they can't work their shift, and either we pay them overtime for that shift or we hire a per diem. So having more per diems would allow us to not have to pay overtime for those shifts.
Susan?
Yeah.
I recall from last year, Sean said we need 2 people to roll the truck.
That is a very bare minimum. Really, 4 is the number. We realize we're not making full. I mean, that's reality.
So if you get 2 firefighters per shift,
that will get
that's
real
a big
certain.
improvement.
Yes, correct. So I know the comments are based on being professionalism, and there might be too much of it. Having the 2, we're missing the point of having somebody respond. Having the 2 at the fire station will get somebody coming. We are in the days of there's gonna be nobody that shows up. So, or they do, it might be a half hour, 40 minutes later.
So the fire people frequently ask what the fire company does with the fire company lease money. The project they've got slated for this year is to get a Plymouth diesel exhaust extraction system. So anyone who's ever been around diesel exhaust knows that it smells really bad, but it's actually also really bad for you. And those trucks off gas in the workspace, and it's adjacent to the living space in the firehouse as well. The Mass Department of Labor Standards recommends the installation of an exhaust capture system. They don't require it, but if, as you mentioned earlier, being a firefighter has a lot of risk associated with it, and breathing diesel exhaust is one of them. So they would be using it. Yes.
We learned when we did the lease negotiation 3 years, capital and lease agreements are not combined into one. And this was presented on Monday afternoon I asked the fire department, I told them in January, the 2nd week of January, that I wanted to undo the lease agreement to make it consistent with all other departments, okay? And here we are, come on Monday afternoon, January 9th. Okay, January 9th, I asked the fire department, we were getting ready for the budget. I said in the budget that I didn't think we should have a lease agreement. Management was told. They said, well, the fire company board, the Monterey Fire Company needs to meet, and that's the lease agreement, they'll come back. On Monday, in several budget meetings, where are we on this? Where are we on this? On Monday afternoon, someone representing the fire company, the Monterey Fire Company, wrote a note to Roger. We want to take our lease agreement and take money for the capital agreement and use it towards capital. 3 years ago, when we did the lease agreement, we told the fire company, capital is separate than lease agreement. The town has to vote on capital. The town hasn't voted on this capital expenditure. The other thing we did this year, if you look at the warrant, there's not capital items in there. We rejected the police department's capital. We told the Allen under the new Department of W said that we, he had a schedule to replace a truck. He said, I can get another year or two out of it. So I'm in disagreement with this. I personally don't like the fact that I asked in January, what's the lease agreement? And they come to me Monday, Tuesday, I learned about it in the budget, when we're finalizing the budget and we're signing off on the warrant. Okay, so the finance committee that I know of did would register it on this expenditure. We went no length of, Roger read the email during the meeting, and I was like, that's all news. I said, forward me the email. So I'm not sure this is kosher. This is like part of the issue which you get in here today. We have to do something, but the transparency is not there. I knew about the Otis, and I talked to Chris about it. And two is that we should have been communicated. It should be in the forefront. It should be, we're doing this. This is what we're doing. I feel there's reasons to be optimistic with Otis based on a meeting we had a week ago. This can work. I met with Sanderfield's select board chair, and that nobody else wanted to talk to him or the other select board. I understand the fire chief and the deputy fire chief don't like the fire chief there, and I can't evaluate that. I don't have the skill set. But if you look at Sanderfield, Steve and John Fields are real businessmen. They're making real changes there. And I think you have to get people in a meeting to talk about. You can't just start rejecting. It's like, I felt like when I called Brittany and Otis and said how many calls, she was very honest. I had like 7 medical, this, we haven't been keeping track. We have good email exchange. I appreciate the honesty. You get in the meeting with Brittany up here a week ago, you can see she's working on it. She's, they're credible. We can do deals. But if you don't get people in meetings and you don't share information, you just create havoc, From a select board member, it's like I get questions. I never knew about the Otis question. Well, we're required to run the Otis all the time. Okay. I sat with the fire department. They gave me the first 7 months of the information, but they didn't have anything from Otis. I contacted Otis. Brittany and Brandy were great about giving me information. So there's a real question about moving forward, how do we be transparent? If you go on the fire company's website, they don't list out their costs now. There's got to be transparency because you just create that. And that I get.
I asked why it's that, because they used to do it.
I'm not, but if there's no transparency to deliver a capital request, what do I so say to the fire chief?
Fire company website.
Right.
So there's a division there.
I know there's a division, but we talked about partnership last year. That's part of a partnership. The nonprofit for the library has a partnership with the town. That's the kind of partnership we need with the Monterey Fire Company. Or we need to do away with the lease agreement and we take the building. You don't want to be unheard of? That's it. We spend so much energy dealing rumors and doing crap like that. It's like, who in the hell would be a select board member?
Well, that's another question. What do you do as a nonprofit? If everything you do we pay for, what is service that you do for free?
The fire company.
The fire company does
Because
make.
if you don't do anything, then you're not a nonprofit, then the lease goes back to the town.
Yeah.
It's a complicated, you got to decide what your partnership is. You got to get in the room and say, what can we do? You don't get that. You have to go find information. People should be saying, what is the fire department doing now?
Yeah.
We're spending a lot of money, and my concern is the transparency. I told Chris, the data is what the data is. The first quarter, they got a lot of demon or whatever money because they made a lot more calls. Well, that should be out there. That's the data that you shouldn't hide it because you're going to see their base pay, and then you're going to see at the end of the year they made X amount of dollars way above that. And then you're going to raise questions about, oh, we were misled. If you put the information out there, information is information. Data is data. Okay? Data is data, it doesn't lie. It's not an opinion.
Thank you.
That's all.
I just want to go on record. I'm perfectly happy to meet with Sandusfield. My hesitation is that I'm not comfortable thinking about going to switching to an ambulance service whose entire operation has existed since August.
Yeah.
I felt I wanted them
Well,
to
you
have
could
a
take the
little
same way,
more
you could take the
ride
same
on
way.
the
Otis
stage.
has taken over since January.
Yeah,
But
but
you
no,
know,
but
but-
the Otis,
okay.
the Otis ambulance
Okay.
and its staff existed before that.
Happy debating a select.
The Otis, you're right. The Otis ambulance
It's
existed before
recorded.
that. This is a
Roger's got to translate.
This is a totally new fire chief and a new staff and a whole new operation. It's not the same as an
Yeah,
existing
but
operation.
I think there's other things. I think the select board should meet with the select board of Sandersfield. Lead the fire chiefs out, see if there's some common ground. Because talking to the 2 out of the 3 Sandersfield, they know they're not there yet. They know they need work. But, they have a long list of things they completed. And they're working towards it. And I don't think anybody will stop them from getting there because I think they're both good businessmen and they are loyal to Sandersfield.
I'm fully willing to work with them. But the only one person who reached out to me was the fire chief with no backing
Yeah, but
from
Susan-
anyone's
Susan-
question. I'm only
All right,
responding
okay.
because I felt you singled me out that I wasn't willing to work with them, and I am. That's the only reason. So, is there anything else you want to say about this before I go to the next slide?
No, it's gonna go down. Let's keep it rolling.
Okay, so this is what the financials are for this year's additional, the whole fire department, really. So it's a little bit, the part that can be a little confusing is that, I actually see that thing up there. I have it right? No, I did, but I think my battery's dead. Might have been playing with it too much. You notice the red 309? So when we put the 3 firefighters and their healthcare on as a separate article on last year's warrant, right? And that's how it got approved. And we did that because we didn't want to have to go back and mess with the fire budget if it didn't pass, but it did pass. So the reason that fire department compensation was one big bucket last year was that all those things were mushed together. So that's why it's going down there, because we're breaking out all the salaries. So that's not additive. I just wanted to be able to show you what their salaries were this year. It's actually part of that 651 number, right? Which is why if you add all those things up, they're not going to add to here because that's just these 3. I just broke out their salaries so you could see them separate. Does that make sense? I know it's a little confusing, but I couldn't figure out how to show you all that information on one page otherwise. So this year's budget is going to look like that because those salaries all got broken out on the warrant. So that's what you'll actually see on the warrant. The fire chief and deputy fire chief won't show for FY26 because they weren't separate salary lines. Everybody with me so far? Right, so healthcare is down here. This was FY26. This would be FY27 with the additional 3 firefighters. And so that's the difference. That's the percentage increase because we're doubling the number of people. And this is for the retirement. It's a year lag because we don't start getting billed for the retirement until the year after they're hired. So this is actually for the existing 3 people. I should also say this is an estimate because very annoyingly, the retirement people will give you a lump sum for all of the employees of the town, and they will not break it out in any way. And all of us have tried.
So
They
what's
absolutely refuse.
each fire department that they want to add, how much is it gonna cost total, A to Z?
Each fire, well,
Workers' comp.
workman's comp's in there, but it was only a few.
Well, we don't pay workman's comp.
We
We
pay.
pay injury on duty, and it added like $500 to the order.
Did you hear the answer to your question? Right, he answered your question. Did you hear it?
Hello.
Total.
No, total. That's what it was total. No.
What is each additional firefighter gonna cost the town?
per person or total? Oh,
If you
I did
mute
not-
me,
Who do you think you wanna hire? Out of that $300,000 increase,
Right.
how much
whoa,
is each person?
why do you mute me, eh?
Sorry.
Did you wanna ask a question?
No, no, I don't want to ask.
Because we can hear you.
Sorry, I have no idea.
Well, you should.
So this increase is a total increase, except I did leave out the $500. Sorry, this increase is the total increase for everyone. That would include the COLA increases for the existing personnel and the new lines and their health insurance and their retirement.
That doesn't answer my question.
I know, but you were asking me to do a calculation in my head and give you an accurate number. I don't think I could do that.
The budget.
We don't have those numbers.
What? Per
You
person.
don't know.
Roger and Susan.
Per person.
I just have to tell.
Yeah.
Because we don't have access to the
Insurance,
data.
did you do,
from
what did you do,
insurance.
married or?
I think we did
Costs,
one
as to
family,
you know
no,
what
there's
it
one
costs for
family
each.
total in there, and then we did a bunch.
So hold on, so hang on, hold on.
Roger, he's got the most.
Roger, so the firefighter is $62,940, right? It's difficult to determine. We actually make estimates on health insurance because we don't know what firefighter one is gonna do. Is he gonna come in as a family? Are they gonna come in as a two-person or a single?
You should estimate it
Or
based
nothing.
on
We estimate it based, we do a mixture of things. We all sit around and we talk about this and we determine, like, for example, this year, we're gonna add one full-time, one family plan and 4 two-person plans on there. Because a two-person plan could slip down. It's real difficult to determine what we do, because if we were to be like, we're gonna do 5, or we're gonna do 4 full times, you're talking almost $100,000 of just that.
adjustment to the budget at town meeting. You have to know between how much you can't say, I only wanna hire one person. What's the dollar value?
So
To adjust, so you can make
Yep,
an adjustment.
So if the town decided to not hire 3 additional firefighters, we would go back through and we would say, we're going to remove 2 of the value of the two persons.
I think you should come to town meeting with those numbers.
Well, I will.
Because you can't just say that at a town meeting.
And it could
You
be-
need to say by a dollar amount.
Yeah.
You can't just estimate.
No,
Say,
it
"We're
would,
gonna pay for 2."
it would be a dollar amount. It'd be, for the two persons is like $56,000 to drop that down somewhere around, $32,000 for a two person. We have 3 different options. We have a single, a two-person.
She's saying that if they strike the line, we
Yeah.
need to be able to know how much to reduce.
And overall, you mean for each individual? Yeah, oh yeah,
One person, we need a dollar value to adjust the budget at town meeting.
and sometimes we might have to do that on the fly, or I'm gonna have to have all that worked out, is what you're saying.
Right, you have to have it.
No,
worked out.
I get it, so
You need a cheat sheet.
I'll get a cheat sheet that says if we remove 1, if we remove 2, if we remove 3, what that cheat sheet is, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Is it
Figure it out.
practicable to hire 1 firefighter instead of 3?
Yes.
Sure.
You think so? Have you run a firehouse?
Okay, stop.
Order at 3.
No, it comes
No,
down.
I hear what you're saying, and I'll do that. I really thought,
We'd have to-
I can figure that out. That's easy.
Don't say that.
Just a question on the health insurance line. If I'm reading this correctly, we have 3 full-time fighters now for 64,000. But adding 3 more, you're only estimating 38,000. That's about $12,000 a policy. Are you just assuming they're all gonna be single or on their parents' policy?
I put in 3 two-person plans.
So we,
That's-
Yeah, what in there, what in there, what in
Did I
there, what in there?
miscalculate that?
It just looks a little low to me, that's all compared to the other year.
I know, it does. Now that I'm looking at it, it does. I actually had to go back and change this because Roger thought I should break out retirement, which I did. Now I'm wondering.
What in there, what in there?
okay. I gotta figure out how to do it.
Somebody is on the Zoom and has their mic on. I'm pretty sure that's what that was. It's just very distracting. So he's looking up what the two-person plans are.
No, I'm trying to get rid of this guy.
Oh, you're trying to get rid of the guy. I could look it up, but I can't without taking off this way.
At some point.
So I believe a single person plan's about $8,000, a two-person plan's about 16, and a family plan jumps up to, I think,
23, 26 or something.
28 or something. I think it's 28. And I think I put in two-person plans, but that doesn't sound quite right. So, part of that's probably because the health plans also increased. So, right, so these cost more this year than they did last year. Does that make sense?
But I'm reading that you're only adding $38,000 for 3 plans.
Right.
Whereas existing 3 people, it costs us 64.
So our.
Last year.
Our additional plans moving forward into this fiscal, the FY27, were a mixture of plans. It was, we added we're trying to, we call it a buffer. So we had a buffer of 1 family plan and 4 two-person plans, which is a dollar value.
Those 3 higher positions,
We did-
you made some
We
assumptions.
just made some assumptions.
And I don't even think that would cover.
He doesn't think this is enough for the assumption.
Yeah, we have to,
16
right,
times 3 is a bit more.
the dollar value assumption in this math right here might be off.
Yeah, and that's what she's
102.
saying. I think this might be wrong.
Yeah, that's all.
I think if it's off by probably 16.
Okay.
I probably made a mistake when I took out the retirement.
Susan, I have a
Thank you for
question.
catching it. Pardon?
I have 2 questions. To go above the line, the blue line, there's fire department, equipment and maintenance.
Mhm.
And then there's the lease.
Yep.
And what did we spend $83,000 on this year? And why is it the same amount next year?
Because we decided to level fund it.
Like, did we spend 83,000?
Yeah,
The lease is only.
no, the lease is 6.
I'm not talking about.
Yeah, the 83,800,
About
yeah,
that one.
yeah, it's a lot of maintenance, vehicle maintenance, other equipment maintenance, yes.
And another question of that is, I understand that hedge funds have basically taken over the fire truck business and are bringing unprecedented kind of pressures and price fixing on various products. Is there a way for?
We actually dealt with that originally, and that's why we had to go back and find another company to help us, which was sort of outside of that hedge fund. But yeah, we dealt with that. The first company we were working with came back and said, they were sold. They were sold, they were bought, and came back and said,
We can't do it.
we can't do anymore. And so we had to basically start over again and find a smaller company that was more essentially like a family company, which are very few of them. It was like,
There's only a hand.
it was like one, they weren't part of a consortium of other.
Keep your fingers crossed that they stay in business a few more years.
So then the lease payment, where does that money go?
Go to the Monterey Fire Company.
It goes to the Monterey Fire Company. Yep.
But what does it go for?
The building.
The building and for their own.
And this year, I'm no longer the president, which you probably heard now. They decided to, because of this plan event system, that's been being talked about for a few years now. They decided they would commit that money to that plan event system, so.
And that's not available through grant writing
Yeah, there's one you can get $10,000 for. We did the AFG grant a couple of years ago. There's no luck with the AFG grant. We strike out year after year after year. And when we have gotten it, it was kind of all screwed up.
And it's smaller dollars. It's not $30,000.
Thank you.
No, it's a good question. I think you're in it for a while.
What are the base salaries based on?
The base salaries are based on. So this is us, the chart from before, but now the blue is us. So the base salaries are based on the hourly rate and the number of hours. That is what it's based on.
So we basically take that $42.15 and multiply it times $2,632, something like that, which is what the fire department works, as opposed to 2,080. What did I say?
You said
To dollars, I mean.
Hours, yes, 2,632 hours, I'm sorry. Because a normal 40-hour work week is about 2,080 hours a year. But with the 4896 work, it's about 2,632 or something like that. So that's where they take that, and the salary is, as management, is actually the lowest management paid at this point in Monterey. It's lower than police, highway, and myself. But it comes out more because they work more hours. And again, going back to what Susan alluded to before, is because of that 4896, they can actually technically work a 52-hour week. So those extra hours over 40 aren't at time and a half, they're at straight time. So all of that is, those extra 500, 400, 500 hours are all at a straight time pay, not at overtime pay. So it's really just hours worked times the hours paid.
And night shift, is that different?
They would be the people we're talking about for
Oh.
night shift are either per diems, or the night shift is the call firefighters that are sleeping in the house overnight to make sure there's enough people to run a truck.
But
if
is
there's a
it
call.
125 for?
So, no, yes,
125.
yeah, per night, yeah. So the fire department has that night duty shift, which is $125 per night, yeah.
I think you're up, Laura.
Okay, am I correct in understanding that the people who get base salaries also get paid over and above that for each call that they go on?
So right now, because people aren't answering calls during the day, sometimes our full-time firefighters have been answering those calls. There was a call recently where the deputy chief, Chris, was down with his kids at the playground and nobody was showing up. So he had walked down, so he had to run back up to the fire station. So to answer your question, yes, at this point in time, because we have a limited supply of people answering, specifically during the day, when they go for that, when they get a call, they get the normal call at this point.
Just clarify that that's getting paid per call when they're not already on shift. They're not
Yes,
getting an additional
correct.
pay per call when
Yes,
they're on shift.
that's very true. Yeah, so thank you very much, because that is true. It is their days off that those calls are happening. Yes.
And there's also holiday pay calculated in the same as the police department gets. So they get on the 12 holidays that the town recognizes, they get paid for 8 holiday hours. They're often working that day anyway. If they were, in another department, they get paid, but they wouldn't be working. So they're getting that holiday pay like all the other town employees. Think there was one more question. Yep, I think you're up.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So. I'm sorry?
Maureen, who's who?
I'm so sorry, Mickey. They had their hands up for you.
This is actually a question for Sean, and he, I think, can explain it because I don't understand it. So the new firemen you want to hire, these 40 people, 3 people, what is the difference for the first 9 months as compared to the last 3 months of the year? How they're getting paid, and what's the reason for that? What are they doing different, or what are they doing?
So I don't have the full answer to that. That's my brother. He's got that all figured out. Basically, they'll be doing less hours. They'll be going to the fire academy, EMT school.
So what is, then that involves those 3 nights a week,
No.
3 hours a night?
It's different.
Different.
In shifts.
So go ahead. So the idea is that, in Massachusetts, and you can correct me if I go out of line here. In Massachusetts, you can hire people to be firefighters, just firefighters, but there's also, when they go to the academy, they're a firefighter, they come out firefighter 1s, firefighter 2s. And so the idea is that we are hiring people because we know it's hard to hire people.
Just people.
We're just hiring people.
Right.
So we hire a person, they're a firefighter. When they're hired, we send them to the academy, which takes a specific amount of time. When they come out of the academy, they're firefighter 1s, firefighter 2s. Once they come out of the academy, then we plop them into the 4896 schedule, which takes about 9 months or so.
So
through the
what is
academy.
going to the academy involved? I mean, are they working their days and this is exercise? What does that involve? And what is the cost of it? Who's paying the cost?
It's free.
It's free.
It's free. It's in Springfield. The state runs the fire academy. There's hundreds of instructors. They get a handful of instructors different every day. So they show up, they do physical fitness and they beat them up. It's kind of a military regiment. They show up, they do their PT, and then they put them through all the steps of almost a couple $100 worth of firefighting classes.
So when do they do that? Going to the.
As soon as, I think late August was the next available class that if all went well, we could get somebody into that.
Okay, so you get in somebody into that. Do they go during the day? They're not here, they're there.
Correct.
And they get paid.
Yeah, so they're getting paid, whatever, to go to school.
Yes.
At which point, I agree, we probably should be putting in their contract that they're expected to stay here a certain amount
I
of time,
think
since we're
that,
paying them to go to school, even if we're not
I'm
paying.
just saying, if your dad paid for somebody's CDL, he'd make them sign a contract.
Yeah.
With blood. It's not enforceable.
So, just, can we just follow up just on that?
Can you follow up on
I'm
the
sorry,
question?
I'm sorry, because there's 9 months where they're only working 40 hours a week, and I'm unsure how many of those 40 hours a week they're on because if they're working 40 hours a week, they're not doing a 48-hour shift. So when are they working up there? How many weeks is the fire academy? I assume fire academy is Monday to Friday.
Correct.
How many weeks will they be going there?
It's 10 weeks.
So for 10 weeks, they're going there. So we're not getting any additional coverage for those 10 weeks because they're there.
Because they're there, yeah.
Then after 10 weeks, what are they doing for the next, someone do the math? How many more months left? Like, what are they doing during that time?
They're doing their EMT class, which is another couple $100.
And is that like a Monday to
If that-
Friday?
If we send them to Springfield or Worcester, yes.
And how many weeks would that be?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Both this all.
Each
9 months?
Each class is different.
Okay,
Every
but
class is
I guess what I'm wondering is in the first 9 months, is it entirely those 4 hours a week? We're paying for them to be trained and we're getting no additional coverage until they hit it and start? Or are we getting coverage from those 3 people for those? I'm just unsure.
No, I think it's a good question.
Honestly, I don't have the full answer for that. But is what we did was try to scratch off, trying to get the number down so it's palatable to people. And in 9 months, then we will have a full-time firefighter per se, right around the clock.
I think what they're saying is for those 9 months, we're essentially paying them to be trained.
Yeah.
I should say, supporting them during the training process.
Yeah.
Because the training fortunately doesn't cost.
Well, but we're paying them their each hour.
I got, if I don't take Maureen, she's gonna start throwing things at me.
I'm thinking about liability, maybe this question has been answered. Does the town have liability in terms of the quality, a standard of care? Is that a driver in determining what you have to have and as a baseline? That is, can the town be sued, say, if you don't have, if EMT doesn't come within a certain period of time?
There's a lawsuit just was filed in the state of Louisiana for lack of due diligence, and people died, and there's a massive lawsuit against the small town city. So, I think ultimately, yes, I mean, you can sue, I mean,
I'm
every,
just wondering if that's a driver in this conversation.
I don't, that hasn't been discussed at that level.
I'm gonna take Morris because he hasn't asked anything yet.
I'm sure in terms of training, after the 10 weeks of fire academy training, would the EMT training be done locally at Southern Berkshire? The way you did it, three evenings a week with some coverage the rest of the time?
That is an option, yes. That's if they decide to do another class. Southern Berkshire, like, don't mean anything negative by this, but they're really a come and go department. Sometimes they're doing it great, and I've heard, and sometimes they're not. What do I want to say? They haven't committed to any future classes. And they might have some and they might not, and.
So it's subject to availability, I think would be the answer. I don't know which one of you had your hand up first.
The night shift, 125 per night,
Mhm.
is applying to the on-call and the per diems.
Not the per diems, just the call. The call
In
firefighters.
other words, if an on-call firefighter is on call for the day, they get $50, and if they're on call at night, they get an additional one.
No.
If they're on call, an on-call firefighter gets paid $50 an hour for going to a call.
Oh, okay,
For
got it.
going to a call. If they're a per diem, they're getting $35 an hour.
Mhm.
And if they're a call volunteer, call firefighter that's chosen to work a night shift, they're not required to, they just choose to.
Go to. the
Then they
firehouse.
they sleep in the firehouse and
That's
go on
not an
those calls.
additional 125 a night for our firefighters who are employees.
Correct.
Okay, good, thank you.
I think to answer the question about liability, if you folks can't afford to pay that amount of money in your taxes, you are not liable, because you are not, there's nobody that's gonna force you to pay if you don't have the money. It goes the same with trucks. Everybody says we gotta get rid of trucks after 20 years or 25 years. If the tires are changed on the truck and the law says it needs to be, if the frame is inspected, if the brakes are inspected, and the taxpayers don't have the money and don't wish to buy a new truck, they don't have to. If that truck is legal on the road to an inspection, just like your cars are, and just like big trucks are on the road. You don't have to retire that equipment, because you may not have the people that have the money to pay the taxes to buy it.
I think it is now 3:00 and we're gonna have to probably give up the room, but.
This gentleman is a new resident in town, and I think that, okay, so you can answer his question.
That's okay.
maybe.
You, sir?
So, and we're all timers.
So all of the slides will be up there if you want to see this. The only other thing I can add to this that I learned after I made this is that Adams, there was just an article in was it the Edge? The Eagle. Adams is hiring, their fire district is hiring 3 firefighters for $100,000 each. I'm not recommending it, I'm just putting it right out there.
Can I just go quick? Just
Yeah.
here now.
Yes.
Go.
When the 3 new firefighters come on
Mhm.
after the 9 months of training and they actually come on and start covering, will there be any reduction in any of the overtime or the night shift or because we're adding somebody else in the station. So then do you then reduce the number of people you need to be sleeping overnight because you have just added somebody in?
Our goal is to have 4 people there.
So there will be no reduction.
To the duty shift, no.
And the overtime, will there be reductions?
Overtime.
Overtime. Well,
Shows up, so you pay.
yeah, actually, that's where they went with the per diem firefighters at $35 an hour.
No,
There-
I'm saying if you hired more people, would you have a reduction? of that
Yes,
money?
yes, don't have that number.
Well, can you have it by town meeting?
Well, it's hard to determine that because it's hard to say how much, I mean, we could lower a budget line, but we don't really know when or how much overtime someone's gonna get.
People that a
Yeah.
certain amount of hours, so that means that people you have to call that are off shift, you shouldn't be paid. So you would have 40 times 320 hours that you don't have to call people in when they're not working.
Except you don't know when the fires are gonna happen.
We don't, yeah.
Are you saying?
It's gonna have more people you have more people on.
I mean, we do take into account, it's not on here, the overtime pay, and it did go down by about $180,000 when they switched over from using firefighters versus using per diem. And that's what they're going to do. That's what the plan is instead of using firefighters for overtime, Kelly days, time off, those sorts of things.
The budget
For
next year by that amount?
This budget has been already reduced by like $180,000 from. No, this is for this coming year. So we had come up with a budget that had a dollar value, and then we reduced it by $180,000 because they looked at the overtimes, what they call Kelly days, vacation coverage, things like that. And instead of using firefighters to do that, they're using per diems to do that. So instead of paying, time and a half at 40 some odd dollars, they're paying straight time at 35. So there was about $180,000 savings for the FY27 budget based upon what they'd gone into and where it originally came from.
Do you have more to add?
I think that. Well, I mean, I don't know if people, I know that last year I heard a number of people said to me, but you said it was only gonna be $109 a quarter and my tax bill went up more than that. And my answer to that is yes, it did, because the 192 was for the fire department portion, not for the total budget. That number is for the 285 that was up there. It's for the increase for the fire department. It's not for the increase of the entire budget, right? So it was that portion, it should be accurate. Look, I used the Department of Local Services Tax Impact Calculator, which you can go and do yourself, and you can put your own, you can look at your own house's worth and to see what it is. It's just based on that, but it was based solely on the increase for the fire department, not for the overall budget increase.
Right, but the major increase in our budget last year between capital and operating came from the fire department. It's $1 million, the budget went up in there because of between a combination of everything in the budget relating capital and some of that came out of free cash.
The budget didn't go up $1 million, 1.1. The tax levy limit went up. So, and our space that went up was actually $300,000 or $400,000. I forget. It wasn't the whole $1 million. It was
About $2,000 a year, and it did not go up because of the.
Our levy limit went up $1.1 million. That's what we voted on with the Proposition 2.5. So, but there's a whole bunch of other things. If you can talk to Don Clausen about the fact that every year there's an assessment every single year. So the assessed value of your home went up as well.
And then
at the same time.
It should come down, and it didn't. And that's the issue.
No, it doesn't always work like that. Because we added that budget rate on too, so it all goes up. If we level funded everything year over year with no expenses included for payroll or for anything like that, then maybe it might level fund, but it never does. Even if you level funded, the assessed value of your home is gonna go up, so your taxes are gonna go up. It's just the way it is.
Because
The rate goes down,
pretty good
right?
job.
No, but your assessed value goes up,
And your tax stays about the same.
so it stays about the same, so it balances out.
Exactly.
But
So I don't have a better way to estimate it than to use the state's estimating calculator, right? If you put in how much it's gonna go up, it tells you what the tax rate would do and what that would end up costing for a home of a particular value. That's how it's done, right? That's the best estimate I can give on how your tax rate will change as a result strictly of the change in the fire department budget. That's the only thing.
With the fire department, what does this?
Right.
For the fire department.
I will think about changing that. So, yeah. I just want to point out last year, people have said, well, did we commit to doing this? I'm not sure. We didn't really commit we can change our minds. We could cut the entire fire department. I'm not recommending that, but we could do it, right? We have line by line veto on our budget. What I can say is that we passed the override, the purpose of which was to start a full-time paid fire department, 90 to 14. As overrides go, that is a landslide, okay? Nobody gets an override passed by that kind of majority. I think it's personally sad that only 114, is that right, 90? Yeah, 114 people voted. Now that is a crisis to me, but nevertheless, of the people that voted, this passed overwhelmingly. Do we have to put on additional firefighters? No. Was there the impetus last year to go forward with a plan to have a full-time firefighters on our fire department? I think there was, but people can change their mind. I just wanted to remind us that that was in fact what we passed that for. I don't think I need to belabor any of this, so.
Just a point of information, it did pass overwhelmingly, but it was 136 to 51. Just,
Oh,
yeah.
what was the 90 to 14?
I don't know, but I just pulled it up.
That's what the town meeting for.
Oh, that was the town meeting minutes? I was talking
No,
about
I'm talking about the override.
the override, which was on the following Tuesday, right?
Just 136 to
To
51.
51, okay.
On the vote.
On the vote.
The ballot.
It must have been the
ballot or
The 90 to 14 was on the warrant article for
Okay, I
the
just
fire
read it.
department. No, thank you for the correction. I need to go look it up.
But at the meeting, it was 90.
But we're trying to.
Yeah, no, but she's right.
Oh,
Point something out. Rob
Yeah.
just said that we got to take $180,000 out of next year's projected budget because of getting rid of overtime by hiring new people. If indeed that's true, that means that our 3 firefighters now each got about 60,000 a year in overtime. So just let me finish.
Okay.
So if that's really true, then that means there is a cost effectiveness to adding more firefighters because their base salary is a little over $60,000. And so if we really are going to get rid of overtime by hiring them, then we're getting them for the price of
Overtime.
their benefits.
Right, but they haven't put that in the budget, so.
I know it should be, in the budget.
It's-
The fact that you pay overtime has to be in the budget because that is an expense. So
It is.
It is an expense. It's in the fire department compensation piece, which is,
if indeed that is what we're paying and we paid that much overtime, we might as well have more warm bodies and more efficiency for that money.
if I'm looking perplexed, it's because I'm trying to sort out in my head the times we've looked at what actually the payroll numbers were for overtime, and there wasn't a lot in there, so I'm a little perplexed by that, but we'll have to go back and look at it again, because it is a really good question.
What I just said.
No, I totally,
said. So
it's a really good question, and it's clearly come up in this discussion. So I feel like
saying,
it's
yeah,
worth looking at again.
firefighters, if that's not true, it becomes more of a, oh, can we afford this? Yeah.
One last question.
No, Steve, thank you.
Does the capital expenditure for the fire department come out of that lease?
Yes,
Well,
well, plus,
slow down.
it's a good question.
What's that?
Does the capital expenditure for the Plymouth
There's no other
system?
line item. So where is that coming?
That's coming out of their lease. That's what they've said.
They're paying for it.
Yes. Yep, they're paying for it. It's not,
Except we're paying them.
it's not,
Paying them.
but we're paying them and they've told us that
No,
half,
we're paying them the 60,000.
yep,
And they do whatever capital improvements they need to do.
through that. Yep.
And that won't cover the whole Plymouth Bend system. Their state gross funds that they've made will go to offset the rest of that system. So it is coming out of their checkbook up there.
Instead of investing in a really expensive system, if money's a crunch right now, could we maybe get some big fans, leave the bays open and turn off the engine, blow the air out before we close the lids? I mean, I realize that's not nearly as elegant, but.
They're doing now.
That's probably what they're doing now.
Yeah.
It's a good
I mean,
question.
if we don't, we'll see where it'll go.
I mean, they've been doing without it. It's just, yeah. All right. Anybody else? Or are we done?
Thank you.
Hey.